Hey, I wanted to check in and provide some guidance and expectations for the vignette assignments. For this course, there's a series of 6 total case vignettes that you will be asked to go over and provide what will essentially be a document that's intended to simulate sort of an initial assessment that will go into a client's chart and really set the stage and your starting point for treatment. Like I mentioned, you will do this 6 times total. 4 will come at the beginning of the semester, weeks or modules 2 through 5. You will then have those 4 will be group wikis. For those of you who aren't familiar, a wiki is essentially like a Google Doc where two or more people can work on a document simultaneously. Blackboard has its own version of that, and I've set that up for you in Blackboard. And I will get into kind of where to find that and what to expect from that portion of the assignment. The 5th and in week, I guess, module 6 assignment is an individual vignette that you will be essentially be doing the same thing you did in the wikis, just by yourself. And then that will essentially serve as a practice run for your signature assignment, which is another sort of initial assessment, write-up, and diagnosis of a written case example or vignette. And that will be the heaviest weighted assignment of the term. Again, this is the primary way in which I am assessing your grasp and application of the course material as I ensure that you meet minimum competency standards for the profession. Yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of what you put together. I will be with you along the way, providing feedback, especially as it relates to the group wikis and the first individual assignment. So let me spend some time first just navigating over to the group wikis themselves. So as you can see here, I'm on sort of the landing page, but we'll go to announcements. This is kind of when you open the Blackboard course. And of course, you're seeing this from the instructor viewpoint. You will see something at the students similar to this when you log in, of course, right? So here are the announcements. We're going to go over to module 2, where the first group wiki is waiting for us. And as you scroll down, you will see this has instructions about how to find the group wikis. They are not in this item here. So although you can find the case example and you can find an outline that will be embedded in the wiki, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second. So let's go to the left rail. We're going to go to groups. We're going to go to wiki group 1. Now, again, you are only seeing, or you are seeing this from the instructor's point of view. What you will see when you go to groups is you will only see the group that you have been assigned to. I should mention that I have already assigned you, each of you, randomly to a 2-person wiki group. So once you, again, we'll go to groups, you will see your group. I'll click on it here, and you will see these tools. And what you will need is the group wiki. And then you will see a page that looks something like this. As you'll see on the far right, there are 4 of these, and they are abbreviated. M3 is module 3. GW2 is group wiki 2, as you can see in this first titled one here. So what I will want you to do is read the instructions, of course. Look click on the PDF of the vignette, and then work through together the headings here. Now, as a wiki, you can work on this simultaneously, or you can work on this asynchronously as your schedules allow. But the point is that you're working on this together for the first 4 of the case vignette assignments. This is intended to simulate a common practice in the field, which is essentially to pair new clinicians up with each other, or with at least a someone else, perhaps in an ideal situation, someone who's a bit more experienced than you, who can provide sort of a mentoring kind of experience. All that to say, it's essentially 2 heads are better than 1, and you're able to kind of bounce ideas off each other and arrive at hopefully a more accurate diagnosis. I will be going through this process with you. I will monitor the work that you are doing and providing feedback throughout the process. And my final notes will arrive for you on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on, I'm allowing myself some room for variables to emerge. But by Thursday at the very latest, you'll receive my final bits of feedback. And then what I'll want you to do is on your final draft, copy and paste it into a separate Word or PDF document. Navigate back to the module page, and then go to the assignment submission item and submit your form there. You'll see a page that looks like this. You will have an opportunity to browse level files. You can also copy and paste a written submission. Make sure you click to submit my paper to the global reference database. This is the way I'm using in all my courses to check for plagiarism. And then you'll click submit. We're not going to do it here just for the sake of examples, but you'll submit it and I will receive it and provide final feedback in a grade for the assignment based on the rubric. Couple things that I will want you to be paying very close attention to as you complete these assignments. And this will be true for all 6 assignments. So I will want you to be paying attention to, first of all, the biopsychosocial, spiritual, cultural approach. And as you'll read in your text, there are multiple ways of naming this next phenomenon. Your text will call it the competency-based model, and you may also hear it called the strengths-based model. And you may also hear me describe things in terms of asset framing. So what these are all getting at is an effort toward finding what the client's evident strengths are in the vignette. This is preparing you to identify the client's strengths in an initial diagnostic interview, and use those as you are framing the person that you are going to be working with. So as you are gathering sort of demographic data, socioeconomic status data, other relevant history as it comes down here, you'll want to find kind of what is going well, what are the talents, what are the signs of resilience that the client is demonstrating, kind of essentially as they present problems to you, what are the ways in which they've tried to solve the problem already? What are the assets that they have that are going to set them up for success in psychotherapy? And then using a phrase something like, despite these assets or despite these strengths, the client's presenting with the following problems. And then you will identify typically 3. Sometimes clients will only have 2 identifiable presenting problems, but usually you'll find 3. And then I want you to describe them in terms of frequency, duration, and severity of the episodes related to the presenting problem. So let's say, for example, a person is presenting, or a child presenting with tantrums. You'll want to identify how frequently tantrums are occurring, how long do tantrums last, and how severe do the tantrums get. Are other people hurt? Is there risk to self? Is there damage done to inanimate objects? That type of thing. And then they'll take all that information and apply it to, from a kind of understanding the biological elements of the presenting concern, the psychological elements of the concern. Psychological, remember, is referencing the patterns in cognition or thinking patterns, patterns in emotional regulation, and patterns of behavior. So how are those informing the diagnosis, as well as the social factors that are informing the diagnosis? Include a diagnosis that has the code number, the name of the diagnosis, subtype if applicable, and specifiers if applicable, and do not include additional information in this section. But then describe your diagnostic rationale. This is where you're going to really open up your understanding of how biology, psychology, and sociology are affecting the client, and how it helped you get to the diagnostic impressions that you have. And also make sure that you're able to describe the criteria and how they are met. So don't describe it in the straight from the DSM-5 TR, of course, but refer to the criteria enough to where the reader does not need the DSM to follow along. An example here is provided for you. The next section is the differential diagnosis. I want to see at least 2 other diagnoses that you considered before landing upon your formal diagnosis. And I would like for you to provide an explanation about why you ruled out the other possibilities. So if you're working with someone that you land on a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, perhaps you would consider ADHD, ODD, acute stress disorder, perhaps even an anxiety disorder, and you'd want to describe why you ruled those out and landed on your formal diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. And then finally, I'm going to want you to describe your neurological and biological considerations. Again, it's getting into what do you know about the brain structures and how they might be involved in the expression of the presenting concerns, and what might you expect in terms of psychopharmacology. Like what medicines might you expect a psychiatrist to prescribe given the conditions? And I want you to be as specific as possible to demonstrate you have a good working knowledge of the differences between psychotropic medications, even if the psychotropic medication is part of a group of medications used to address a class of concerns. So going back to, well, let's think about ADHD, which has a series of medicines that are considered stimulants that are used to treat ADHD. Why did you go with Ritalin over Adderall or something along those lines? So again, I'm going to want you to start on these early in the week, work together in a way that the best suits your schedule, and have something that is meaningful, or at least partially formed by middle of the week, Wednesday at midnight at the latest, so that I can provide feedback to you, final feedback by Thursday. That will give you enough opportunity to apply the feedback and come up with a final draft that you can submit by midnight on Sunday. Now, again, you'll see lots of items here. If for some reason there is not data in the vignette that specifically relates to the guidance here in the template, instead of leaving it out or mentioning that, or using abbreviations like NA, which is abbreviation for not applicable, be very careful about using those types of things, because they can be you can perhaps give the wrong impression to third-party readers of your documents. Instead, use the term none reported. So, for example, if you read a vignette and there's not a work history or vocational history, you will need a line that says something to the effect of no vocational history was reported, and so on and so forth. That shows up in legal history, shows up in family concerns. That's unlikely to happen, but if it does, then make sure that you mention none was reported, and that indicates that you don't think that it was not applicable or not present. It just wasn't reported and perhaps needs to be followed up on. So again, please, if you have further questions, let me know. Shoot me an email, and I will make things more clear. And if necessary, we'll put out an announcement that clarifies things. I think that's probably the best I can do at the moment in terms of showing kind of what to expect, what I'm expecting, and kind of the nature of this assignment. I look forward to seeing what you put together. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and see you in Module 2 for Group Wiki number 1 next week.